Well, we start with a new personality. Not a new day, but a new personality. And now we move on in history. We fast forward a little bit. And fast forward to go to... Before we go to Khadijah, let me take you to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Young man from the tribe of Bani Hashim, one of the most, or I'm sorry, not the most honorable tribe, living in Mecca, looking at how things are. His father is Abdullah, his grandfather is Abdul Muttalib, Sayyid Bani Hashim, Sayyid Mecca, the master of Mecca. But there is some kind of bitterness, some kind of sadness that was in the heart of the Prophet ﷺ. And that was the sadness of his mother. You see that the Prophet ﷺ, his father died before his birth. So he was connected to his mother ﷺ. And the dhikra, or the memory of his mother, where she died, she was buried in the Abwa between Mecca and Medina, was still coming to him every now and then. And you see through his life, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his early life, when he passes by the house where his mother used to live, that house that put them together, him and his mother, being raised in Mecca, that's a house that had special meaning to An-Nabi al-A'zam sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he grows, he goes into the house of his uncle Abu Talib, stays in the house of Abu Talib 17 years. Abu Talib takes care of him, treat him like his own son, and even more. So much that Abu Talib gave some of his other sons for his brothers to raise, and kept Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for him to raise. Yani, the people of Bani Hashim, they came to Abu Talib and said, "Ya Abu Talib, you became a poor man." Abu Talib used to be so generous that he was the master of Quraysh, but he came poor. He became poor. And he had kids. Kathir al-iyal. He had lots of kids. So they said, "How about you give us some of your kids so we can raise them well off more than you, and then you will let you raise 2, 3. He said, "Take everybody but leave Muhammad for me." Take Aqil, you want to take Aqil, take Talib, take... Ali was still very young, was still born, barely born. So leave Muhammad and Ali, leave them for me, and then you want to take others, take them. Raised them 17 years. حتى أن النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم would call Fatima bint Asad. Fatima bint Asad is the wife of Abu Talib رضي الله عنها. He would call her, "You are my mother after my mother. أنت أمي بعد أمي." Because she raised him. Fatima bint Asad, she raised the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. So much that when she died, رضوان الله عليها, and Nabi al-A'zam صلى الله عليه وسلم goes and sits in her grave for some time. Just before they bury her, he goes and puts his honorable body in that grave. Fatima bint Asad. Moving on a little bit further, towards the end of the 17 years, and that's of Abu Talib, Prophet ﷺ in his 20s. What do I do? Abu Talib tells him, "Ya ibn akhi, oh my nephew, I don't have, I'm a poor man now." In that time, the people were charging or appointing people to lead their caravans in tijara and business. Mecca was an economic center and a religious center at that time. But people would go one trip to Asham, one trip to Yemen, and bring goods and take goods. In that, the big business people, big companies, they hire managers to manage their caravans. There's a disagreement among the scholars whether Khadijah radiallahu anha, who was a very wealthy woman, one of the wealthiest women, if not the absolute wealthiest woman in that time, called upon the Prophet ﷺ to manage one of her caravans and tijara, or someone mediated. The point is, he took that tijara for her. Just so I can have you imagine the wealth of Khadijah radiallahu anha. Her wealth, nowadays comparisons, in the billions, not in the millions. So much that when she married the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, she put a hill of money, hill that almost made people not even able to see each other, of money that's on gold, and told the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, go spend all my money in the path that you like, in the path that you want. This is all for you. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam goes with the caravan to Sham, comes back. As you know, if you're coming from Sham to Mecca, you will be coming through Medina first. Medina is closer to Sham. You're coming from Sham, Medina, and then you're going down to Mecca. Also, as if when the caravan comes back to Mecca, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is listening to all these al-huda. Al-huda are those people, the people who lead the camels. They also sing. They sing qasaid. The Bedouin qasaid and things, you know. When do? They start their singing when they get close to their hometown. So their qasaid, the poetry will be, oh, you're gonna now meet your family, and you know, something to cheer you up. You're getting very close, etc. Because the trip is very dangerous. Many people don't come back from the trips. But as if the Prophet ﷺ, when he's coming back from Medina to Mecca, and he's passing by Al-Abwa, the same place where his mother is buried, he's not listening to those people who are singing anymore out of happiness because they're very close to Mecca. His soul and his eyes are looking somewhere in the horizon to Al-Abwa. Maysara, the servant in charge for Khadijah radiallahu anha, is trying to talk to him because he saw all these things on trip. We don't want to go into all that. That's the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But he saw the things that happened. He was so impressed with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he says, he's trying to tell him, Ya Muhammad, I'm going to go tell Khadijah, my master, that you are so good and you are this, and trying to tell him, you know. And as Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not really listening to all that stuff, but his heart is still looking at the Abwa. That's where my mother is. That's that person that I miss so much. As if he remembers the first trip when his mother died and they buried her. It was also on the path, that same path, and they came back to Mecca. The noise increases of those singers and those chanters, those who lead the camels. The more they get closer to Mecca, the more the noise increases and the singing increases. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam coming back to Mecca. Everyone is happy. People are going to meet their families. Their families are waiting for them. When Nabi al-A'zam sallallahu alayhi wa sallam leaves Maysara